Hey, you guys, how's it going? Oh my gosh, it has been quite the day. I accidentally fell asleep this morning again. And so I don't know if you guys remember this about me. I've mentioned it before, but if I ever fall asleep accidentally, I always wake up with a headache. So I've had quite a bit of headache today. And that's why my hair is not curled or anything like that. Because I was like, well, I still have a lot of stuff to do. So I got my video for Heart Breathings edited, and I have been working on my first vlog for 6 months for life, which I am officially starting. If you didn't hear the news, my official start date now is July 23rd, which is Friday, even though I have actually started some of the process. So yesterday, George and I decided that we were going to just start basically acting as if this move is happening for us, because being in limbo where I don't know whether we're going to be moving or not has been more challenging. So we're just going to start acting as if the move is happening, and we're going to start decluttering things and moving forward with all of that stuff. So we took care of a lot of little things that have been lingering on the to-do list for a while. And then we went to Lowe's and we picked up some boxes, and I went ahead and started packing things up, and I decluttered my part of my master bedroom and some things like that. I put a bunch of stuff in donate, a bunch of stuff in the boxes that we're going to just go ahead and get a storage unit for the moment. So I think it's going to feel really good to start getting things out of the house and getting things packed up. And then we'll create that energy and open the door for the universe to send us our perfect, home, whether it's going to be the house we looked at or not. But I will show you guys on Friday. I will share some of those pictures that we got from the house, as well as some of the video, if I can share the video streams with you of the walkthrough. And then I will also share with you a couple other little things that have kind of been signs or synchronicities, I feel like. So I will share that stuff on Friday. I saw that we already have some good questions coming in for Friday's coffee chat on the Discord server. So if Christabelle will probably put up a coffee chat thing in the coven, that would be awesome too. I'm not sure if she's here today because I know she's had some internet issues, but I'm hoping they're resolved. I haven't gone to check. Friday, we're also going to be doing a giveaway. So I'm going to give away a copy of Vengeful Darkness paperback for anybody that wants to enter that. And yay, you're here. So Christabelle, hopefully that means your internet is resolved and good to go. So I'm glad that you're here. We are going to be reading episode 8 of Rival Demons today, but I'm going to give that just a minute. Another thing that I've been working on as part of my 6 month for life project is I have been working on recording with my camera. So I bought this camera, I think last year, actually. It's a Sony A6400 with a 16 millimeter lens, 1.8, or no, I think it's a 1.4. I don't even know where you find that. But anyway, it's a Sigma lens. And I've been wanting to use this for a while. And I just haven't been able to teach myself how to use it. So tomorrow's video that will go up on my Heart Breathings channel will be my first video recorded with that camera. And I think I had my lights on just a little bit too bright. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good because you can see a difference from this webcam that I'm using right now. It doesn't blur the background at all. And this camera, this lens, part of why I wanted this lens in particular is that it will blur the background. So hopefully I'm going to be stepping up my video equipment coming up soon, but that stuff does take a little bit of, time for sure to figure it out. I wish that sound buffer was bright pink. I know I have the Rode Video Micro. It's like the little, it's just a little shotgun mic to help with the sound. And it normally would go on top, but I just bought this little side thing because this is one of the cameras that has a flip up screen so you can see yourself. So I'm learning about it. And I figure 3 years into a YouTube career, I probably ought to learn to use some really good equipment. So I think that if any of you have ever considered, or I know some of you do have your own YouTube channels and some of you have bigger YouTube channels than I do, but my advice to you though is don't wait until you have all the perfect equipment and all the perfect stuff to get started. Like I started with just a webcam on my computer and that has been good enough. Most of my vlogs, I'm using my phone and that has been good enough. And I have been able to get started with my own career and build it to success with nothing but that. So even if you've been feeling, I know sometimes we feel like everything has to be perfect in order for us to keep, move forward. Like, oh, I have to have the perfect camera. I have to have the perfect lighting. I have to have the perfect, something really expensive, whatever. But just go ahead and get started, even if it's less than perfect, because otherwise you might miss years of opportunity of growing your channel. So Diane says, I'm arranging my Publish and Thrive notebook. Yeah, Publish and Thrive is the other thing I've been working on a lot this week. So if you're interested in joining that class on self-publishing, it will open on Sunday. So I've been getting everything ready to go for that. And the registration opens Sunday. The course starts August 9th. So lots of fun stuff coming up for sure. Sharon, first time live viewing, just binge watched all the previous books and got all caught up. Yay, Sharon. Welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. In just a second, I'm going to do a little bit of a recap of episode 7, but I also just wanted to ask a question. If anybody has a minute to just give your advice on this or like what you feel. I have been one of the other things I've been kind of working on and thinking about is my other social media. So like Instagram in particular, or the Coven, that kind of thing. Now Discord, if you want to join our Discord, it's a really great place. There's over almost 600, almost 700 people, I think, on there. And it's pretty active kind of chat room, but that doesn't have like, I need to go and post things like I do on my Instagram because it's just a chat room. But on the Coven, my Facebook page, and my Instagram, I have two. I have one for Heart Breathings. I have one for Sarah Cannon. And I've been really trying to think about what type of content I want to post on there. Because for the most part, I tend to just be like, oh, my desk is looking pretty today. I'm going to take a picture and put it up on Instagram. But I'm just kind of wondering what type of content you guys like to see. And it's either from Heart Breathings, like for Heart Breathings, would you like to see more photos of my process of like my time tracking and stuff like that? Or do you like to see from writers, do you like to see inspirational quotes or little, what are the word retrieval? I'm officially almost 2 weeks out from not any sugar. So it is getting better, I feel like. But like the caption of the photos, do you like to see inspirational messages or just kind of short things? And when it comes to my Sarah Cannon Instagram and the Coven and stuff, would you like to see more like teaser style posts or like quotes from previous books, or just keep doing what I'm doing? Is there anything that you see from another author that you think, oh, I really would love if you would do more of that kind of thing? Just anything that you guys like to see from certain authors that you would like to see me do. One thing that I really, really would like to do before we get to book 12, like cover reveal and all of that stuff, is I really would like to have like commission an artist to do some painting type stuff of Harper and Jackson, Leah, Airden, Zara, Marianne, some of the main kind of characters from the series. So the real stuff, messy desk to clean. Yeah, that kind of stuff is also cool. More Evie for sure. Love the HB coffee chat. Thank you, Petra. I actually would like to get back into doing those more regularly for sure. Yes, art. So if you guys have seen any other, like I know Jenna Moresi has done some, my friend Casey Bond has done some, but if you have any suggestions of artists that do like character portraits and stuff, I would love to get some links from you. Feel free to email me if you know of someone or if you do it yourself, because I think it would be kind of cool to have some like character art and things like that go up on the Sarah Cannon Instagram and stuff like that. Love the stories, love more Evie for sure. Daily planning tips, a weekly check-in. Yeah, that's a good idea too. Quotes, author collaboration stuff. Yeah, those are really, really good ideas. Hi, David. It's been a while. Good to be back. I've missed part of this. We've missed you being a part of it as well. I definitely missed it when I had to take a break. So I'm really glad that we're back for sure. not really in my wheelhouse. Yeah, I think it would be really cool because it's not in mine either. Now, my sister is a really great artist, but she doesn't really do that kind of art. So sadly, I will not have her doing it necessarily. I love seeing practical process photos and captions, anything writer related, but I definitely love seeing planner related items and no practical author process stuff. Yeah, so practical author process stuff, planning tips, daily tips, quotes, behind the scenes, all of that stuff. I think that sounds good. A weekly check-in is a good idea too. Yes, fan art of all the characters, tarot, manifesting stuff. Yeah, I really do enjoy posting pictures of the tarot stuff on the Heart Breathing or on the Sarah Cannon stuff. Also, this is part of my 90-day plan because I don't want to be last minute doing this, is in October, we're going to be doing the Spooktacular again. And this time I feel the desire to do it bigger and better than ever since it was so much fun last year. So I'm trying to think of some fun things. I'm going to be writing some fun things that are just for the Spooktacular, like some new stuff. But if you have any ideas of giveaways that you would like to see over the Spooktacular, feel free to post those as well. I think I've asked before, but I'm always open to ideas. Tarot cards, witchy related stuff, crystals, but also paperback books, maybe giving your choice of paperbacks instead of saying just this one, but you get to choose any one of my stuff. Planners, what would you guys like to see for giveaways? Because I definitely want to do even more for the Spooktacular this year, and some cool stuff inside the coven too. So it's going to be awesome. I'm just so excited for everything that's coming. Wrestling Chick says, what does your t-shirt say? So this one says Serial Chiller. I've worn this one, I think, many times before. It's one of my favorite ones. I like this one a lot. So I will share a little bit of my updates on Friday as well, but I have already lost over 6 pounds, which I am very excited about as well. I'm starting to really feel a difference, although I still am in the cravings side of things. So we'll talk and share more about that on Friday if you're interested in the 6 months for life. But I had time to edit my video for Heart Breathings for tomorrow, but you guys who don't always go to Heart Breathings would enjoy this as well, because this is going to be a video. It's 41 minutes because I just couldn't cut it down any shorter. But this will be a video talking about how and what I'm doing to prep book 12 and what the journey has been like, starting with book 1 of Beautiful Demons and writing this series. What's my biggest mistake I made writing this series? What is the biggest thing I did right? And how am I setting up my notebook and all my plotting stuff and everything for book 12, which is not called Beautiful anything, but Beautiful Demons book 12, or Shadow Demons Saga book 12. So that's going to be a fun video, but I did not get a chance to yet edit the first vlog of 6 months for life. So that might go up Friday after the coffee chat or just before the coffee chat. So I'll keep you guys updated. I don't have a regular non-live posting day for this channel. So we'll kind of figure that out as we go. But anyway, we are going to start reading episode 8. And I warned you guys that in this one, this is going to be a pretty big dun, but you're going to find out something big about Jackson in this one. So I'm pretty excited for this episode. So in our previous episode 7, Harper was trying to figure out where the training grounds were for the resistance army. And she did find it. She managed to make herself invisible and go into the area where they train, which is kind of behind this sort of invisible wall. And she managed for the last several weeks, she has been going in there and watching how the demons train. And she was able to find some of the rooms are more advanced magic and some of the rooms are for lesser advanced magic. Now, some of the magic she can't do because it's demon magic. And so she's only able to kind of take what she can learn from what they're doing and replicate it. And she didn't have any great place to If you want a good man in your life, find a man who makes you laugh. Jackson is basically an open book. What is there to learn, right? He never keeps any secrets, George. He's a long book. George lots to read. Oh, I love you. So anyway, no, I can't stop giggling. But she basically didn't have a great place to practice. She's in her little suite of rooms, but Leah's in and out of there. Essex is in and out of there, and it's a small contained space. It's hard to like be throwing fireballs all over your suite and be scared that you're going to catch things on fire. So for a few times, she's actually found a place to hide, waited for everybody to clear out, and then basically spent the night in these training rooms so that she could continue learning, which I feel like is, really strong motivation for her to, or I guess not just motivation, but like it's very brave and courageous, but it's also extreme dedication to wanting to learn how to use her magic. And she is getting better and better at it. It also, I think, speaks to the fact that she's been pretty lonely. It's like the only real close friend that she has down here now that Jackson has been not spending as much time with her is Marianne. And Marianne has fallen for this demon named Essex. And so she's really kind of on her own and throwing herself into this idea of training, but she's still knows that she can't really leave unless she can find some answers about how to free the demons or save everybody from the order. So she also needs to get into the library. So she manages to figure out where Jackson is going, and then she manages to follow someone into the secret passageway. And then she hears Jackson and Andros and Leah talking about, should we build an army? And here's that Andros and the Resistance Council are very opposed to building an army and going to the human world and trying to fight back. And so she listens to what they have to say, and then she takes a risk and sneaks into what she feels like is probably the council's meeting room, and she's hoping is the library. So now she is stuck in there probably overnight, and who knows for how long. So this is chapter 34, to translate words. I couldn't see anything, but I knew I had found the room. I could feel it in my bones. Trembling gratitude washed over me. After all this time, I was finally here in a room filled with priceless information about the order. First things first, I needed light. Blindly, I felt along the sides of the door, looking for a crystal or something that might give off light. No luck. It could take me all day to find a light in this place. I definitely didn't have the time or the patience for that. I created a small orb of dim light and held it up, stepping forward. Rows and rows of intricately carved bookcases lined the room. Ancient tomes filled the shelves from end to end, top to bottom. I swallowed, feeling my heart rising. There were more books here than I ever dreamed there would be. I'd expected a row or two, but this was over 1,000 books. Were they all captured from hunters? I made my way slowly through the stacks, looking for any kind of organizational system that might help me figure out which books held the spells. Instead, what I quickly came to realize was that many of these books were written in a language completely foreign to me. Apparently, Juice's magic potion did nothing to translate words on a page the way they did the demon language. In the center of the room, there was a large black circular table that reminded me of stories I'd read of King Arthur and the Round Table. Was this where the Underground's council met? It was completely clean of papers or notes, except for a single book sitting on one of the chairs. I picked it up and ran my hand along the binding. I couldn't make out what it said, but the words were written symbols like hieroglyphics. I laid it on the table and flipped it open, letting my orb hover over the book. Inside was more of the same, only symbols, all handwritten very neatly in a dozen rows. I flipped it closed and sat down. How was I ever going to find the hunter's spell books in all of this mess? Randomly, I walked around the room, pulling books from the shelf and peeking inside to see if it was written in a language I could understand. After more than a dozen tries, I finally gave up. It would take me forever to go through all these books. The library was floor-to-ceiling books in a room that was bigger than Shadowford's entire downstairs. I couldn't even begin to estimate how many were here in all. I wanted to lay my head down on the table and just give up. After all the weeks of training and studying and planning, I was drained, totally burned out. I wasn't sure I had the energy to go through every row in this room, book by book. This room held answers. I could feel it. I just wasn't sure how in the world I was supposed to find them on my own. Deep in thought, I almost didn't realize the door to the library had begun to open. Had they come back? My pulse hammered in my veins. I had to hide. I scrambled to my feet and ducked behind the next to last bookcase. The orb disappeared, but I had no idea if I'd gotten rid of it fast enough. Even the tiniest light would make an impact in this stark darkness. My heart rose into my throat. I held my breath. If I was caught now, none of the demons here would ever trust me again. Why had I risked this? Footsteps sounded against the marble floors. I jumped as the entire library lit up in a blaze of lights. I squinted up toward the ceiling, raising my arm to shield my eyes from the sudden brightness of it. Up in the air, above the top of the bookcases, more than 100 lit candles floated. Well, no wonder I hadn't been able to find the light. I pressed my back deeper against the bookcase, wishing I could just disappear into the books. I listened. From the sound of the footsteps, only one person had entered the room. Slowly, they seemed to be making their way through the center row of stacks. I estimated I had about 60 seconds before they reached the end of my bookcase, where I would be very easy to see. I summoned my power and quickly disappeared into nothingness, standing completely still. That's when the person in the room spoke, freezing me to the spot. Chapter 35, I Have My Reasons. Harper, are you really going to make me search this whole place? My shoulders slumped and I let my head fall back, heavy with both regret and relief. Jackson. How had he known I was here? He was probably going to kill me. Reluctantly, I dropped my glamour and stepped into the middle aisle. Jackson stood about 50 feet away, a frown on his face. What were you thinking? He asked. I don't even know how you managed to get in here, but this is completely insane. How could you do something this risky? The anger in his voice made my stomach twist. I'm sorry, I said, unable to come up with something better to defend myself. You're sorry? You don't even know the first thing about being sorry, he said, his face red with rage. Do you have any idea what would happen if someone else had found you in here? I hung my head. I didn't know what he wanted me to say. That I knew they would call me a traitor, a spy, probably kick me out of this place, or worse. I felt your presence in the hallway earlier. Believe me, I rushed back here as soon as I could get away, he said. The demons here don't know you like I know you. They wouldn't be so forgiving. I crossed my arms over my chest. And how do you think they're going to get to know me when all I do is sit in a room all by myself all day? Jackson shook his head in frustration and turned away. That's not true, he said. I've seen you in the marketplace plenty of times. Yeah, with all my new friends, I said, my tone biting. Do you have any idea how lonely it is for me here, or do you even care? I didn't bring you here to make friends, he said. I brought you here to save your life. Do you know that right now there's a hunter stalking the entrance where we came in? She's there just waiting for you. I felt like I'd had the breath knocked out of me. One of the Order's hunters? How did she know where to find me? Jackson ran a hand through his hair. I don't know, he said. She had to have tracked you somehow, which doesn't make sense to me when you've barely been casting any magic down here at all. I froze, my body tense. Magic? I shook my head. I thought you said this place was shielded from the surface, that they couldn't track me all the way down here. Well, normally that's true, he said, but that's never really been tested with a witch's magic. I mean, we're usually thinking more about demon-only magic. It doesn't matter, though. You haven't been casting much, have you? I didn't know what to say. I hated to lie to him, but to tell him the truth would be admitting that I'd been watching the soldiers. Harper, he took a step toward me. Have you? I closed my eyes and drew in a deep breath. This was going to be painful. Oh my God, he said. He walked around in a circle, his hands balled into fists. You've been casting a lot? Tell me now. First of all, let me say that I had no idea I could be tracked, I said in my defense. You never told me that was even a possibility. Tell me, he demanded. Okay, yes, I've been casting, I said. A lot. I explained about the practicing in my room. Jackson paced the room in front of me. Still, he said, I wouldn't think that would be enough. I mean, I would have thought it would take something more to get through the barrier, something stronger, like all-out use of your power. I fidgeted. There's something else, I said, and I know you're going to be angry, but you have to understand, I couldn't just sit down here and do nothing. I wanted to learn to be more powerful. What did you do? I knew I had to say it quickly, like ripping off a Band-Aid. I used my invisibility to follow the soldiers into the training rooms, I confessed. I went every day for several weeks, sometimes staying overnight after they left to practice. The shock on Jackson's face was complete and terrifying. He took a step backward, then collapsed into one of the chairs around the table. How could I have missed this? He asked himself. I should have been paying more attention. I never thought. Hey, how did you even pull that off? When he looked up at me, I saw a mixture of anger and wonder. He genuinely hadn't thought I was capable of something like this on my own. Didn't he know me at all? You don't think I'm strong enough to make any real difference, do you? I asked, so angry with him for always believing I was weak. Did you really expect me to just sit around down here like a little puppy dog? I don't want to be down here forever, no matter what you might think. I plan to go back and fight someday. Jackson stood, taking several quick steps in my direction. Why are you always so bullheaded and stubborn? Why can't you just be patient for once? You have no idea what the order is capable of. The anger in his tone felt like a slap across my face. I had no idea. How could he even say that after all I'd seen and been through? I pushed back the sting of tears. You want to know why I can't be patient? I asked. What about the fact that I've got an entire army of witches looking for me? Witches who, by the way, want to kill me. Or what about the fact that every day we sit here on our asses, more and more demons are forced into an eternity of slavery? You think I don't know all that? He asked. But what do you want me to do about it, Harper? I have been trying to find a way to fight back for 100 years. You think we can just change the world in 2 weeks? It doesn't work like that. No? I said, lifting my chin. Well, how does it work? Jackson didn't answer. He stared at me, his chest moving up and down with each heavy breath. You don't have a clue how it works, I said. I was in his face now, part of me wanting to punch him and part of me wanting to kiss him. Just how far have you really gotten in 100 years? Have you fought anyone, defeated anyone, changed one single thing? I saw the hurt in his face. His upper lip twitched slightly and the muscles in his cheeks pulsed as he ground his teeth together. I knew I was throwing some low blows, but wasn't I right? How long were we all going to sit back doing nothing? What do you propose we do then, oh mighty 16-year-old Harper? I'm 17 now, I mumbled. I didn't have some brilliant plan to offer either. I just wanted us to start looking for better answers. Oh, excuse me, 17, he said, clapping his hands together. I'm sure that extra year has provided you with the wisdom of the ages, right? So what's your big plan to save my brother and the entire Shadow Demon race? Do you think we should all go over there and just start fighting? At least that would be something, I said. It would be mass carnage, he said, for both sides probably. Is that really what you want? No, I said, my voice softening. He couldn't really think that was what I wanted. Of course not, but I want to do something. I'm so sick and tired of always being kept in the dark by you. Why can't you just talk to me? It's like you don't believe I'm strong enough to hear the truth. You don't think I'll have anything to contribute to the conversation. You don't think I can help. You just take it all on your own shoulders, thinking you can protect everyone. But you know what? That's bullshit. That's not the way I feel at all, he said, sadness darkening his eyes. Well, how would I know? I said. It's not like you talk to me about how you're feeling. Since we got to the shadow world, it's been nothing but secrets between you and Leah. All I've ever done is try to protect you, Harper, he said. That's all that matters to me. That's not true, I said. Yes, it is. So you're saying there isn't some small part of you that thinks I'm incapable of doing anything important to help? He paused, and I felt the seconds tick away like a bomb in my gut. When he finally lifted his eyes to mine, I knew I had gotten it right. Even after everything we'd been through, even after I'd saved him from the others and fought back against the crows, he still didn't think I was powerful enough to make a difference. To him, I was just a weak young witch who needed to be sheltered and protected. And wasn't I? Hadn't I almost died at the hands of the Order? If Jackson and the others hadn't come for me, I would have died that day in the ritual room. No doubt about it. I couldn't hold the tears back any longer. They streamed down my face like a waterfall. Jackson reached for me, but I stepped away, holding my hand up. Harper, don't, I said. I wiped at the tears on my face. I know you don't understand why I came here or why I keep breaking your rules, but you have to know that I am just not the kind of person who can sit back and wait while everything falls apart. I want to at least try to make a difference. If you wanted me to give up, you should have just let me die. The words hung between us like a thick cloud. You don't understand anything, he said. You're seeing it all wrong. Then how should I see it? I asked softly. Jackson stared at me, his eyes telling me he had something he wanted to say, but something seemed to hold him back. The moment passed and he turned away. Why this room? He asked. What were you hoping to find here that was worth risking so much? I sniffed. I heard that at least one of the hunters caught along the way had some spell books in her cave, I said. I thought maybe if they were old enough books, they might hold some of the Order's secrets. He shook his head. You're still determined to find a spell that will release Airden? Aren't you? I asked. I've seen the books you're talking about, he said, but there's nothing new in them, nothing we haven't seen before. My heart fell and the tears threatened to come again. I suddenly felt so incredibly tired and defeated. Why didn't you at least tell me about it? He met my eyes, and I could see in his expression that he understood the pain in my heart. Just because you don't want anyone to know about what we had together doesn't mean you had to completely cut me out of your life, I said. That was your choice. His face grew tight, and I noticed his hand trembling slightly. I have my reasons, he said. I nodded. Yeah, you always do. Jackson held up his hand and turned back toward the doors. This conversation is going nowhere, he said. When he got to the door, he turned back. Come on, I'm taking you to your room. And promise me you'll never do something like this again. For a moment, I stood my ground, not wanting to leave. I didn't feel like this was really over. There was still so much more I wanted to say. I took one long look around at all of the unreadable books, wondering where the answers were, if not here. Then I gave in and followed Jackson silently back to my room, the distance between us greater than ever. Chapter 36, Never Give Up. Emotions scattered through me in all directions. I was angry at Jackson for not being open with me from the start about what he knew and what he'd been working on. I was ashamed for getting caught doing something I was never supposed to do. Disappointed didn't even begin to describe how I felt about the fact that none of the hunter's spell books contained the spell I was looking for. And now, on top of everything, there was a hunter stalking the portal entrance. I flopped down on my bed and let all those conflicting emotions roll through me like a wave. Or a tsunami, really. Where did I even go from here? Jackson had made me promise I wouldn't go back to the training grounds. I knew I couldn't risk going back into the library. Besides, what good would that do if the books I needed didn't even exist? I had come to a wall, a barrier so thick I could see no way around it. And as far as Jackson was concerned, I knew there was still so much unsaid between us. He was hiding something from me, I could tell. Why could he never just be open with me? Why couldn't he just tell me everything and trust that I was ready to hear it? He said I didn't understand his reasons, but how was I supposed to understand when he wouldn't just talk to me? Would things between us ever change? I sat up and leaned my back against the wall, trying to make sense of everything that had happened since we got to this world. When I killed the tiger twin, I swear I hadn't done it on purpose. Yes, I wanted to hurt her for what she'd done to Marianne, but I don't know where that dark power came from. It was as if I'd stepped out of my own body and some other force had taken control. Then, during my practices here, sometimes I felt a shimmer of that power creeping in, a darkness, shadowy and elusive. It scared me. But there was no denying the power that came from me in those moments. It was strong and all-consuming. If I could learn to understand it and use it, maybe I could accomplish amazing things as a witch. Maybe I could have a chance to defeat the Order. I closed my eyes. The Order. Jackson said a hunter had followed my power here. I imagined her lurking above the ring of black roses, desperate to find a way inside. Jackson assured me that there was absolutely no way for the hunter to get inside without being let in by someone on the council, so there was nothing to fear. Still, had I put everyone's lives at risk by practicing magic? What if the hunter somehow did find a way inside? How many would die because of me? My problems circled me like vultures, waiting for me to give up for good so they could pounce on the flesh of my spirit. But I would never give up. I would keep searching for a new plan, a new way, a new possibility. I would never give up. Chapter 37. The green brought out his eyes. There was a part of me that hoped Jackson would be around a lot more after our last conversation. He managed to come into the suite more often to check up on me, but he rarely stayed to talk. A couple of times I heard him come in and ask Marianne if I was in my room. When she said yes, I expected him to come knock on the door, but instead, he just left. I spent a lot of time in my room those next few days, trying to come up with anything I could work on or set my mind to. With the library as a dead end and the training completely off limits due to the hunter's presence, I was out of good ideas. I tried to just relax and hang out with Marianne and Essex, but my mind was always wandering off. I knew I wasn't being the best of company, but they didn't seem to mind too much. The three of us were sitting by the coffee table in the main room, playing a type of card game Essex wanted to teach us when someone knocked. My stomach flipped. I could feel Jackson's presence on the other side of the door. He must have come to check up on me. I straightened and stayed put, not bothering to go open the door. He always knocked first, but he had a crystal key to the suite and could get in on his own. I trained my eyes on the cards in front of me, concentrating on the strange demon symbols and refusing to look at him as he entered, which of course lasted about 6 seconds. My eyes completely betrayed me, flicking toward the door quickly, then back to my cards, but what I saw in that split second made my heart stop in my chest. I suddenly felt like I couldn't breathe. My face grew hot and the space around me felt like it was closing in. All plans to act like I didn't care and that I wasn't thinking about him flew right out the window. I stared up at him, not understanding. Jackson stood just inside the door to the suite, dressed from head to toe in a fancy black suit tailored perfectly to his muscular body. Under the suit jacket, he wore a dark green button-up shirt with the top 2 buttons left undone. The green brought out his eyes, which were now looking straight at me. My hands shook, so I laid the cards down on the table and put them in my lap so no one would see. For a split second, I let hope lift my heart into the air about 7 feet above my body. Had he come to apologize to me? Maybe ask me to a nice dinner, or so he could explain everything? I believed it so much that I almost stood and walked to him, dying for that conversation. But before I could stand or make a move, the door at the back of the suite swung open, the sound of high heels clicking on the tiled floor. I turned my head to look, completely unprepared for what I would see. Leah walked into the room, her hands up to her ear, still adjusting an unruly earring. She was dressed in a floor-length gown adorned with sparkling silver beads. "Are you ready to go?" she asked Jackson. "Why they insisted on this dinner is beyond me, but I'll be glad when it's over." My mouth hung open, and I had to force myself to breathe. My eyes saw what was going on, but my brain was 2 steps behind, not wanting to understand. Under the table, Marianne's hand sought mine. She squeezed hard, and I swear it was the only thing that kept me from screaming. "You guys having a dinner tonight?" Marianne asked. "Yes," Leah said, rolling her eyes. "Something the council insisted on throwing for me. If they really wanted to honor their possible future queen, they would have let me wear my own clothes to this stupid thing." "You look nice," Jackson said. It was the first thing he'd said since he walked in the door, and I wished I could shove the words back down his throat. Was this a date? He was obviously here to pick her up and walk her to this dinner. Did that mean they were actually going there together? And flaunting it right in my face? Jackson's eyes met mine again, and I put all those questions and all the hurt I was feeling into my eyes. His jaw tensed, and there was sadness and regret, but I had no idea what to make of it. Was he sorry he was hurting me? Or sorry I caught him dating another woman? My breath came in short bursts like machine gun fire. "Have fun," Marianne said. Jackson shoved his hands in his pockets. "It's no big deal," he said, lying through his teeth. "Hopefully it won't last too long." "Amen to that," Leah said. She finally got her earring in. She put her arm through Jackson's and motioned toward the door. "Let's get this over with." Jackson peeled his gaze from mine, then turned and escorted Leah from the room. When the door closed, the suite was dead silent except for the sound of my heart pounding out of my chest. What the hell had just happened? He'd always insisted there was nothing romantic between him and Leah, but that didn't look like nothing to me. "Harper, your turn is next," Essex said, pushing my cards toward me. I ignored him, knowing the game was over for me now. "I think Harper needs a second," Marianne said. She turned toward me, concern etched on her pale face. "I'm sure that wasn't what it looked like, you know? I mean, Leah didn't even sound like she wanted to go." All I could do was shake my head and stare at the door. "Am I not understanding something?" Essex asked. Marianne sighed. "It's complicated," she said. For the first time since we'd been underground, the lack of fresh air really bothered me. When did this room get so small and stuffy? I felt a trickle of sweat on the back of my neck. I needed to breathe. I needed to feel the wind in my hair and on my face. I couldn't just sit here letting the walls close in on me. I stood up, not even knowing where I was going to go. "Wait," Marianne said, following close behind me. "What are you doing?" As soon as the question was voiced, I knew the answer. "I'm going to follow them." "No, this is a bad idea," Marianne said, tugging on my arm. "What if he sees you?" "I'll be discreet," I said, not letting her slow me down. I opened the door and peered outside. They were no longer in view of down the corridor, and I needed to get moving or I would lose them. "Harper, don't do this," she said. "Listen, if there's really nothing to it, then I'll go. I'll be bored for an hour. I'll come back. But if there's more..." What then? I didn't even know myself. The thought of watching him kiss her or hold her close made me feel dizzy and sick to my stomach. "You'll just get hurt," she said. "It's not worth it. Just wait till he gets home and talk to him about it." I laughed, but the sound was hollow and joyless. "Yeah, because that's worked so well up to this point," I said. "Jackson's such an open book." Marianne had no argument there. She knew it was true. She also knew she wasn't going to be able to stop me from going. "Be careful," she said. "Please." "I will," I said, summoning my power and disappearing down the hallway. Chapter 38, Painful Awakening. I caught up with them in the marketplace. They were headed up the stairs to a hallway I'd never been down before. I followed them from a good distance, hoping Jackson wouldn't be able to feel me if I stayed far enough back. Leah's arm was still entwined with his, and every time he smiled at something she said, I felt a dagger twist in my side. We traveled past rooms that looked like standard housing before we came to a large archway. I was careful to stay behind other couples or just around doorways so he wouldn't see me. Unlike a lot of the demons here, I knew Jackson could see through glamours if he wanted to. Several dressed-up couples turned and walked through the arched doorways, but from where I stood behind an attractive couple in matching red outfits, I couldn't see anything. Still, this seemed to be the place. Jackson and Leah disappeared into the room. I let out a sigh of relief. No secret doors or strange obstacles. Unfortunately, I almost missed the red couple stopping mid-stride to adjust the man's color. I nearly ran right into them, which would have been disastrous. I narrowly missed them, running into a wall instead. I bit my tongue to keep from crying out. It hurt, but all I could think about was the pain I was feeling on the inside. I needed to know one way or another. Behind me, a decent line had started to form. Demons all dressed up and waiting to get into the event of the season, no doubt. A party for the future queen of the Northern Kingdom. I'm sure everyone in the underground hadn't been invited. There were too many people. This crowd must just be the council and the more prominent members of the community. Essex certainly hadn't been invited. I did remember hearing a woman ask him to make a dress for her for a party. She'd said it was a very important event and that she needed an original creation. She must have really wanted to make an impression on Princess Lazalia. Well, she'd be in for a rude awakening when she heard that Leah preferred leather to sequins. When the line died down a little, I finally made my way into the room, my eyes searching for Jackson in the crowd. I could feel his presence somewhere toward the front of the room, where a large oval emerald served as a stage. Round tables had been set up to surround an area that seemed to be cleared for dancing. To me, it looked like a typical arrangement for someone's wedding or party. I hid in the back of a room behind a glass sculpture. When I spotted Jackson and Leah in the crowd, they had parted ways and were talking to different groups. Relief lessened a tiny bit of the fear pressing on my heart, but I knew it wasn't a definitive answer. Not yet. I watched him talking to various groups of demons for about half an hour before most of the guests had found their way to their table. When Andros took the stage, the talking died down and everyone's eyes turned to the front of the room. His beautiful wife, Aurelia, stood by his side dressed in a tight-fitting white gown that glittered in the light. Jackson and Leah took their seats at the front of the room. They sat close, but as far as I could see from here, they weren't touching. I hated the speed of my heartbeat. Had I really turned into this jealous person who was willing to sneak into a party just to watch her somewhat ex with another woman? This wasn't who I wanted to be, but I couldn't force myself to leave. If there was something going on between them, I needed to know. Ever since he'd first introduced her to me, I had felt there was so much more between them than he was telling me. I knew in my heart I was about to find out what that was. Something strange was definitely going on with him lately. He wasn't acting like himself around me. I had that feeling in my legs like I wanted to be ready to run at any second, as if my body understood that I was standing in the middle of a very dangerous situation. At first, I hardly heard a word Andros said. He was talking about how he knew Leah, but for me, the words went in one ear and out the other. I struggled to hold on to my invisibility. My emotions were all over the place, and concentration took more effort than it should have. I stared out at all of the smiling faces of these strangers and wondered how my life had brought me to this moment. I didn't belong here. But did Jackson? Was this really where he'd belonged the whole time? He certainly didn't belong in Peachville. And where did that leave us? I can't tell you how proud I am to be here tonight, honoring Princess Lazalia, the rightful heir of the Northern Kingdom and our future queen. Leah and Jackson stood as the crowd clapped. All of her earlier annoyance was gone from her face, and instead she looked exactly as you would expect a princess to look at this type of affair. But why was Jackson standing with her? Our struggle against the Order of Shadows has been a difficult one, but no two citizens have gone as far in the fight as these two standing before us tonight, Andros continued. While most of us were still too afraid to speak out against what was happening to our people, Daenerys refused to accept that his brother was gone. Even when his own father was too scared and defeated to go after Erden or even beg the king for help, Daenerys was relentless in his search for his twin brother, finally going so far as to travel across worlds. We've missed you, my dear friend, and I, for one, am so glad you are home. The war, as we know, is far from over, but we can all take inspiration from these two who both were willing to risk everything for their kingdom and their people. Your parents may have made some mistakes in their existence, but promising you to each other was one of the best decisions they ever made. Here's to Princess Lazalia and her chosen mate, the future king and queen of the Northern Kingdom. The demons rose to their feet, clapping, but the sound was muffled. In my own ears, all I could hear was the sound of those 4 words, future king and queen. I felt the breath knocked out of me. Jackson and Leah were promised to each other? They were to be married? Jackson was her future king. The truth of it tumbled over me like a rock rolling down a steep hill. It all made sense now. Why he had to break up with me before we got down here. Why he couldn't be seen kissing me or even getting too close or showing too much interest. As far as these demons knew, he was meant for their princess. And wasn't he? I certainly didn't hear him denying it. In fact, he stood there at the front of the room with her now, smiling and playing his part. He was never planning to be with me long term. Once his brother was saved, he was always going to come back here, wasn't he? And why not? Who wouldn't want to marry a beautiful woman and lead a kingdom? My heart shattered in my chest. When he first told me we couldn't be together down here, I think I always assumed it was a temporary situation. Even if he planned to stay down here, I knew I wouldn't stay. And in my heart, I felt that when I left, he would follow me. We would be back to our old relationship eventually. We just needed some time to get through this, right? But Jackson had come back here knowing he was taking up his old place as Leah's betrothed, her future husband. Just thinking it made my chest tight. I saw my hand flicker in front of me, visible for a split second. I clasped my hand over my mouth to keep from crying out. I was scared to even take a step, afraid I would collapse then and there. And when Jackson took Leah in his arms and kissed her forehead the way he'd kissed mine countless times, I felt my knees begin to buckle. The demons in the room took their seats again, waiting for Leah to address her people. For one moment, as the crowd adjusted and settled, Jackson's gaze moved to the back of the room. He looked straight at me, his eyes widening. We stared at each other through the crowded space, the moment becoming a breaking, a shattering, a painful awakening, a goodbye to all we'd known together. I don't know how I found the ability to walk, but I knew I had to get out of there. I broke away from the wall and took it one painful step at a time. By the time Leah's voice sounded in the room, I was halfway down the hall, finally finding the strength to run. And there I shall leave you until Monday. So the truth is finally out. Yeah, it's hard truth, a hard truth. I was reading some of them, and Anisha said it's going to be he has a wife and kids. Oh gosh, that's funny. But Monday's episode is one of my favorite parts of the book, says Angela. Let's go, girl, full stop. Yes. Oh my gosh. Just as I feared, right, Lori? Alexandra said I was expecting that. So you knew there has to be something more going on. There have to be secrets that he's keeping. And I feel like so much of the series, their relationship has been leading to this scene that I read today, this couple of scenes where there's that confrontation between them in the library where she really pulls kind of the truth out and says, you don't believe I'm capable of making a difference. That's why you're keeping all these secrets from me, is because you let me in, and what do I have to say? And he really does betray the fact that he does believe that, even after everything she's been through, that he's like, oh yes, mighty 17-year-old Harper, what is your wisdom? And you have to think, like, when you have these immortal demons and they've been around for, hundreds of years, and they think that they know everything that's been going on, in terms of they have all this knowledge, they have all this power, all these things. Like, it would be hard for them to look at a 16, 17-year-old human witch and be like, yes, let's listen to what your ideas are. But what I love about Harper is, because really and truly, it's like, even though I wrote this, it's like she's really her own character. She came out of something beyond me. But when she says to him, oh yeah, and how's that going for you over the last 100 years? Just how much change have you made happen? So if you don't listen to me, then we're stuck here forever, living the same life. Like, he can pretend that he's got all these things under control, but like, really, he's been stuck in Peachville as a teenager for all this time. So how well is that going for you, Jackson? And I love that she's able to say that kind of thing to him. But I can I can picture so much, like, reading that here she is, he's coming in and out of the suite, checking up on her. And she's thinking, I'm not going to look at him. I'm going to pretend and play these games, whatever. And I can so picture her looking up and being like, whoa, because he's dressed to the nines, nicer looking than she's ever seen him. And he's got this green shirt on that makes his eyes look so green. And she's just like, oh my God, like, and that hope in her heart of like, has he come here dressed up to apologize to me, to tell me the truth, to take me back, to apologize, all this stuff. And instead, he's not coming to apologize to her. He's coming to take his future fiance or his fiance out to dinner or whatever. So just imagining the heartbreak that she's going through here. So now we wait until Monday to see, what do you think Jackson will do? Debbie says, Mom says that's one of the best readings she's done. Thank you so much. My hands are cold from reading it, because I was like so much in that moment. I've been that girl, Lori. Yes. And I have been that girl too. And so many of us have, like, that you think you know what's going on, and then your heart is broken, and how much you want them to run after you. But will he, can he, or will he leave her to fend for herself? And men, demons, all of them. Yes. Holly says, I can clearly see that scene, the last scene in a movie. Me too. I see it going through my head as if it were real. Hello. You want to say hi? You got a truck? You want to show everybody? She's still in her PJs that have strawberry juice on them. We're fancy in the Bittman house. Oh, you want a strawberry? Because I said strawberries. We're about to have quesadilla. You want quesadilla? Quesadilla. No quesadilla. You want to come sit with Mommy? So that is emotional, but there's even more emotional scene coming in Monday's episode. And like I told you guys and warned you guys before. Calculator. So like I warned you guys on Monday, that after this, it's pretty much nonstop to the end. So we have episodes 9 and 10 next week, and then 11 and 12 will be the finale. So we've only got 2 more weeks of reading to go, and it's pretty action packed from here to the end. And this book has a cliffhanger. So that's why I'm like, I'm not going to leave you guys. This book is like one of the worst duns of the whole series. And I will not leave you very far. Just an interesting thing about Rival Demons before we go too, is this book came out in January of 2012, which was a book that I wrote when I was pregnant with Andrew. And so this book came out January 2012, and then he was born in June 2012. So Demons Forever didn't come out until December of 2012. But this book came out in January, which put me in a really good place because I ended up being on Amazon's top 100 best-selling books of the year for their teen and young adult books. And I was the only indie author on that list. Which was pretty cool at the time because it was all traditionally published authors. And to see my book was like number 96, Rival Demons. So I can say that this, even though I have never hit like the USA Today bestseller list or anything like that, to be the only indie book to have ever hit at that point the young adult best-selling books of the year on Amazon was a pretty huge accomplishment in my career. And so I always look fondly on this book. And in fact, this book.
What is one?
Which one?
What is one?
My camera? You can't have my camera. This book is actually my best-selling book of my entire career. This book has sold more than 60,000 copies, Rival Demons. So it's pretty exciting little statistics there about this book. So my best-selling, the most money I've made off of any book has been this book because of where it falls in the series. So sometimes when I start talking about like long series or marketing strategies, I always talk about writing at least 5+ books in a series, because a lot of times it takes to that 5th book till you really see that big success. But yeah, this has been one of my most successful books because of where it falls in the series. And then as you get into because it took me a year, if only people knew that a year was nothing compared to how long it might take me to get some other books out. But it also goes to show you that you can sell 60,000 plus copies of a book and still never hit the bestseller list, because you have to hit those 5,000, 10,000 sales in a single week. So don't feel like if you're an author, if you've never hit one of those lists, that it means anything in terms of your success, because it really doesn't. She's over there getting into all my stuff. Evie, come over here, please. Evie, come over here. Oh, she's leaving the room. But anyway, it is a lot of book sales, and it is, I'm super eternally grateful for everyone who has picked up these books and read them. And for those of you who still, even 9 years later, are still enjoying these books, because it just means the world to me to be revisiting them. And tomorrow, like I said, over on my Heart Breathings channel, which is just youtube.com/heartbreathings, there will be a 40-minute video that will go up talking about how I am prepping to start book 12. So if you want to check that out, that'll go up tomorrow. And then I will see you guys on Friday for our coffee chat. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And if you want to ask any questions for Friday's coffee chat, you can go into our Discord server, or Christabelle has put a post up in the Coven on Facebook. So we will see you guys then. Oh, she just shut the door on Daddy. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
Say bye-bye.
Say bye-bye.
See you later.
She's pushing on this door, trying to get George out. All right. See you guys on Friday. Bye.